Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Guile Treatment. We have Ashley Fullerton joining us for definitely the first time.
Definitely the first time.
And we're going to talk to her about her win at Worlds. So Ashley, if you want to talk a bit about yourself, how you got into UFS, and the big weekend, let us know.
All right. No, actually, I think I'm good. We can probably shut the podcast down here.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
But no, seriously. So, hi, I'm Ashley, for anyone that hasn't met me. And I just won singles 2019 at Worlds. Woohoo! First female champ card. But as far as how I got into the game, this is actually the one point where I'm glad that we re-recorded, because I just found out my mom is going to be listening to this podcast. So, Mom, just skip the next 5 to 10 minutes, come back in. For everyone that is still here that is not related to me, FYI, I got permission from Keenan to tell this story on the podcast. So we started dating January of 2017, and then he came back from Worlds 2017 and had been sending me what was to me very cryptic text messages at like 4 a.m. Atlanta time with things like, I was playing Zoe and I got diversified and I lost by 1 strength of schedule point, so I'm bummed because I don't get to go to top 16. So I would like wake up in the morning, see he texted me, research what the hell that meant, and I'd spend like an hour Googling UFS diversity, UFS strength of schedule, UFS top 16, and after like an hour I would have enough knowledge to parse together, that sucks, I'm sorry. So when he got back, I was like, dude, you got to teach me how this game works, just so I understand what you're talking about, but I am not going to like it because I don't like deck building games, so don't expect me to play it. So he taught me to play with like some Mega Man Turbo decks, and I was like, okay, I know what this game is now, I'm good. We went on vacation a couple weeks later, and he was like, well, I've invented rules for strip UFS. And my thing was, I didn't like playing because if he beat me, then he's been playing the game for 10 years. Of course he did. And if he didn't beat me, then he clearly threw the game. So very frustrating. So his rules were every time I dealt him damage at all in any way, he had to take an article of clothing off. And every time he killed me completely, I had to take an article of clothing off. So even playing fields.
You definitely had like a 5-hander, right? You had a 5-hander, right? Yeah, so you had
7.
You were playing a 7-hander?
I was playing Cammy, and then he was playing, I think, Ken.
Okay, so yeah, I see that, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly like, if all you need to do is deal damage, like Cammy's not terrible. Now, what you should have done, I don't know what symbol you were on. You should have just been on order and run what lies ahead or whatever the Eligor or
the
Eligor 1 diff.
You always do 1 damage.
And as long as even if he full blocks, he still takes 1.
He still takes 1. It's like he takes 1. There you go.
See, I didn't build the decks. He built them in front of them.
Of course he did.
In front of me and said, "Who do you want to be? Who do you want me to be?" So yeah, all of a sudden stakes I cared about, and then I was much more invested in the game. So we started playing more when we got back, and the rest is history, and we are here.
Okay, so what was your first event? Lead us up to your first event in UFS. I'm trying to kind of re-steps the maybe mythical podcast that happened before this. But if you want to talk about your first UFS event, that'd be great to just give some more background.
So my first UFS event, but beyond like local just for fun kind of tournaments, was actually Nationals of 2017. And that year I went like 3-3-1 in singles playing Yellow Devil. And one of those wins was my opponent literally saying, "I'm tired of this game. I don't want to play. You get the win." So I didn't do great, but we went to, my team was me, Keenan, and Bo Tucker, and we got all the way to second in teams. And I won our final match. So and a lot of the reason that we got to second was just because Bo Tucker is a beast and refused to drop a game until that exact moment. So then I got kind of the bug for it and was like, oh, maybe I could be good at this game. And then there was a local series that was kind of playing at that time. I think first of that local series was my first series ever where I didn't win a game. Okay. I don't think I even came close to winning a game. I learned important like, you should probably pile shuffle after you sort your deck. Like, that was where I was at. But because you got points for every like game you win, every match you win, and because I went to every single one, by the end of it in January, I actually had accumulated enough points to get to the top 8 that we were heading to.
Okay.
And I knew what I was doing finally, so I won that local tournament.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that the one with the plane ticket or something? Was that? I forget what that was.
No,
because Keenan won that.
Oh, because Keenan won the plane ticket. That's right. That's right.
I won bragging rights, and I won a couple of small trinkets, and then I won, actually it's here,
Some
I
small
won this
trinkets.
very stylish knockoff crab backpack.
Ooh, that is very stylish.
Right?
That's cool.
But yeah, so from that point I was like, at least I'm decent, maybe? Let's keep going.
You're already better than me at that point, because, you know, you're probably already, you know, you're definitely at that point, you're already better than me. So, but I know that we faced your team in first round in Nats. I remember that. And I got the pleasure of facing Keenan, and he beat me because he's Keenan, and, you know, I think he maybe let me win game 1.
2017, right?
What?
I said I don't think I went to 2017.
No, you weren't there.
Because I think I went to the UK, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got him. You faced, I believe, Anthony Hall, and you were playing Shen. And all I remember is him saying, "She just keeps playing the same attacks on me over and over again. She's Shen. That's what he does. He just beats people's faces in." So, and then I remember the Bo Tucker. And I looked over, and then like Jesse had lost already, and it was like 5 minutes in because, you know, that deck was just insane. And,
I mean, isn't that how Heidi works?
Yeah, it's how Heidi works. Wins in like 5 minutes. So
you either win
or you lose. Yeah, exactly. So
no in between.
Yeah, there's not very much. So from there, you kind of got the bug-ish, as you say. So let's just fast forward. I guess you're Lord Raptor. I know you've talked about it in the mythical podcast that was, you kind of led up to why you chose Lord Raptor, and you want to talk about that and kind of the fruition of your deck and some deck choices. We can go into that before we get into some of your matches and stuff.
Sure thing. So I have always really liked Flash as a mechanic, and the first set that came out after I started playing was Plat. So I tried to build Shadow Man, and clearly that didn't go well because he's Shadow Man, and his support was not good. So I abandoned that. But when the new set got spoiled, Street Fighter Darkstalker, Raptor looked really good, so I wanted to play him. And at our draft, I drafted him and managed to get a deck that had 9 copies of Leg Shredder in a 40-card deck. And some Feels Good to Be Bads, some Singing Skulls, and just everything I did was, I'll do a thing, I'll re-ready my thing, I'll stun you out. Are you dead yet? Which was just ridiculously fun. I still didn't win. I think I came in 4th. There was a
there was probably like an Akuma with like 18 copies of his like 1-diff foundation.
And then, you know, there's always the Lilith that drafts all of the surprise soul flashes and swallow your soul. So
that was who won. That was Keenan.
Okay.
There was I think a 4-way tie for second, and my strength was just garbage. So from there, after that point, I actually got in a UFS slump where I was like, yeah, I'm going to build Raptor. And I went to UFS Ultra and I did the thing where you're like, I'll put this in, I'll put this in, and this is good. And then you realize it's a 95 card deck and you're like, oh shit. Sorry, Mom, for all the swearing. But at that point, I got in like a UFS slump and I could not be bothered to play. I didn't care. I couldn't parse my deck down. At the first locals after Street Fighter vs. Darkstalker was released, I was literally laying on the couch saying, maybe I just won't go. I just don't care. And so Keenan got frustrated and was like, fine, I'll build your deck and put together 95 card Raptor, put it in my hands and said, you're playing this today.
Playing it. Yeah.
It was still really fun. It was the best method I've ever found for quickly going, oh, this card is garbage, it's not staying in, or, oh, this card is amazing, I should cut this down so I can get more of this card.
I imagine you just, as you're drawing cards, just throwing stuff behind you. It's like, no.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, by round 2, every time I got Sweet Chainsaw music on my hand, I was just like, And yeah, just from there, I was like, yeah, fun. Okay, back to UFS, and played it every single event from that first locals to Worlds, just kind of making tweaks and changes as I went.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that that's sort of like actually like a pretty good method. I feel like UFS is one of those things like there's a little bit sometimes like almost of like a stigma of people like playing the same deck over and over and over, and because it's just sort of like, well, you've already done well with it, like do well with something else. But at the same time, like you know, if you really can just like refine a deck like over and over through like multiple events, like that's the thing, is like you can eventually like get to that point where you're just like, all right, like this deck is really good now. You know, obviously that worked out
yes, it did.
pretty well for
it
you.
Did.
I know like when I started out, there was a similar thing. I played a Gutsman deck, and I think my first 3 or 4 events, and it was similar to that, where like every single time like an event ended, it was just like, all right, like let's go check it out. It's like, this card sucked, this card was good, like let's try this out. And you know, like it would just sort of change like every event based on like how like things had gone. Like you just get a better idea of like what's good, what's not, like what you need, and you don't necessarily get that same like level of feedback and like testing, I think, just because you know, it's just something where you're not as invested in the games, I feel like, as like when you need to win. So.
Kind of like when Ashley was talking about the stakes when testing aren't very big. When the stakes are raised, then you actually pay attention. Like, I know it's kind of bad, like people who just kind of like autopilot through locals. They're just like, well, I'll just play with cards, or even in testing, you just kind of autopilot it. But like in a PTC or in a major, you really focus in on like I was playing my Taki deck, not to hijack the thing, but at Worlds, and I'm just like, why the fuck is these cards in here? And that's exactly what I said to myself when I was playing someone. I was like, well, and I told Tim, I was like Tim Keefe, this card's got to come out. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, because, yeah, but like you really don't.
It's like, that's not going to do you any good in the middle of teams.
Yes, not going to do really good in the middle of teams, right?
It's much better to do that at a smaller tournament where after like 5 hours of play, you can say, okay, I'm done. I'll never use this again.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish I did that, actually, because I played it at some locals, but sometimes locals isn't the best testing ground. It's more quality over quantity sometimes. No offense to my gentlemen here in Rockford, but sometimes they aren't the best testing partners. So
I mean, I've had plenty of stuff like that. Like, it happens both ways. I mean, you can like, you know, if you always test against like the same 2 or 3 people, like you can have a deck that's like really, really good, and you're just like dropping games, and it's because like the people you're playing against like know the deck as well as you do. So they're just like, I know what zones you have. I know like what kind of blocks you have. Like, you know, they know your lines of play. They, like, so it's one of those things where like they're so familiar with it that like they're like much better equipped to like play against it. And so like you'll be just dropping games. And you're like, I think this is good, but like, you know, I don't. You know, you almost have to like take it against people that like aren't familiar with it and see how you do. Like,
and I think that both of those were helpful, and it's nice to be in the Atlanta play group where we have like a large amount of people, so there are people that would show up a lot and know exactly what my deck does and how to play around it, particularly Keenan, who would play around it every day at home, and then Dave Wagner, who built a deck that was really, really similar. So both of them knew exactly how to play around it, so I had to be really smart, but then we had a lot of people that would show up every once in a while for locals that I could test it against to kind of gauge how people would deal with it if they don't know what it is.
About that, like you may have one of the, I would say outside of Omaha and Rochester, you may have like the best locals to test against. Actually, you may have the best locals, maybe outside of Michigan, because you have cardboard winners left and right down there. And the only really cardboard per capita would be like the Michigan play group that could rival it. So you can.
That being said, I don't want to crap on the Omaha play group for not having a lot of cardboard, because they're solid players.
Yeah, they're very solid. No, I wasn't trying to throw shade or anything.
They've won like several teams things now too. So
no, those guys grind weekly and daily, so they get no shade thrown. I'm just saying, just amounts of cardboard. Just in those 2 areas are just, they still don't rival Garrett combined, but they're still a lot. But yeah. What about your deck? Why don't you talk about a few favorite cards of yours, and then we can move into your Swiss rounds or your team's rounds and Swiss rounds then.
Okay. That is such a hard question for me because I mentioned on stream at the end of singles that my deck was tooled so well by the end, and props to Keenan for helping me do that all along the way, that it was difficult to side because nothing could come out because everything was important.
Yep.
So my favorite cards is I'm just going to name every card in there, but Shredder, because it's useful in about a million different situations. Feels good to be bad, which makes my blocks better. Shaman, which works offensively and defensively. Shaman's ruined me for UFS. I play regular UFS now, and I'm like, oh, I have to think.
What do you mean I can't just pick up the block?
I just can't pick up what block zone I want? Damn.
This is garbage.
Does Feels Good to Be Bad ready a foundation too? Or is that Shaman that does that?
Neither. Shredder will do that.
Shredder does it? Okay, I thought I don't remember the other abilities on those two cards. I only know the main ones. The Feels Good to Be Bad is the Speed Redux, right?
Yeah.
And then Leg Shredder picks up a block. But I know they also have second abilities that I have no idea what they do.
I think Feels Good to Be Bad's second ability is a death-only ability that lets you flip it to re-ready a foundation that hasn't been readied yet.
Okay.
Or re-ready that foundation. And then Shaman's is you can flip it if you have no cards in hand. You draw a card and gain 2 vitality. Okay. I have never used either of those ever in the last months I've been playing this deck.
There you go, kids. There's a hot tip right there for you.
In the Atlanta PTC finals, Dave used the form on Shaman and top decked a Death Hurricane and forced it through, and Tim Keefe still just blocked it and killed him. But
Tim,
you almost got
it.
It was a clutch pull that just didn't matter at all.
Yeah, because I've never really I haven't played Raptor yet, so I haven't had my time with him, but so I'm not very. I know I'm familiar with Showtime and a couple other cards. So
the Shaman form is definitely in case of emergency
break glass.
Yeah, that pulled through for me a lot this past weekend.
Yeah, because I think what happened is I think he had used it digging for attacks, and then Tim reversaled him, and so he had to use it to pick up a block. Or he was gonna die.
Okay.
And then that left him with nothing in hand because he only had the one, and so he just formed it, as sort of a if I don't have any cards in hand, I'm gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I guess I know I asked this previously, but 0 copies of I can't remember the name again.
What is it?
The cannon, whatever.
Oh yeah, Conquest.
Conquest.
Yes, we talked.
So Conquest was in my 95 card Raptor deck, and I just found that, so for the most part, in my deck, at the end, there are 4 Leg Shredders, which are 3 diffs, 4 Kneecappers, which are 3 diffs, 4 Bear's Bites, which are 3 diffs, 4 Stinging Skulls, which are 4 diffs. There's so many low diff attacks that you can just keep throwing and keep picking up and keep throwing that for an attack in this deck to be high diff, it has to be amazing. And Conquest compared to Azuna Drop, which always pushes damage through and is the only momentum hate that I have in my deck, and Hurricane of Death, which usually will come across for at least an 8 low 8, has a Deadlock or a Desperation 5, and is my only main board specific foundation hate. Conquest with a 5 diff and a 2 check, and it you've got to pump the speed a lot to actually make damage go through, or they'll just block it, and you got to block out of their hand, but you could do that with Kneecapper for a 3/3. It just never pulled the weight. It was one of the first cards I cut from the deck.
Okay.
Other thing is that I play 3 copies of High Seas, which did again, I'm just going to keep coming through cards and be this is also a favorite. High Seas is also a favorite. It does so much work for me. Until Ninja Outcast came out, that was my best anti-reversal. Just okay, cool, 4 damage reverse, I'll take 4 damage. Let me keep going and kill you. Don't bang me.
Now, with that, let's say someone takes flash off of your attack. Can you regain flash by using High Seas Adventure?
Depends on how. If they use the Street Fighter card that is flip commit, and it just removes keywords, I can put it back.
Okay.
But
if they seal it, you can't.
in it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that can be used offensively and defensively for you too. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I know that just kind of looking forward with rotation happening when 7 Cross comes out. I have a feeling the deck may lose some pieces like Dust in the Wind and Ophid, right?
Yeah, those are the two.
Yeah.
Know that it's like if you just switch the symbol, there's a new essential Ophid that comes out on his other 2 symbols as part of 7 Cross. Which I feel like it has to change symbol. Otherwise, every throw deck you encounter, you're like, oh, well, I'm on a timer.
Yeah, very true.
We're gonna die. But just losing Dust is so bad. Because there's a finite number of flash attacks that you have in your discard pile. There's some feels good that you can get down. He'll still be solid, but that last game against Cassie Cage would have gone way differently if I didn't have a Dust that I also had the ability to re-ready with Leg Shredders.
Yeah. I know Dave had been talking this week, actually, like after we talked previously, and he was talking about like possibly replacing Dust with like Wandering Pirate and whatever the new Remulus card is, like Ignition or something. And just like a lot of these like sort of air cards that re-ready and ready other things. And I think the idea was just sort of that you can't necessarily get like a block. And then I guess what's the Torn Loose one? The Immortality, I think, is like flip and reset the speed.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good.
And so like
that
they're like are like pieces that like you can use. It's just, right. It's not going to be as direct like speed hate. But like there might be like some hope. Obviously, right. If you want the Ophid, then you're going to be looking at Kieran Soul instead.
Because Death also has Gift of His Immortal Blood, which is you pitch a momentum for -5 speed. So, but your opponent also has to have momentum, so it's kind of dependent on your opponent to have it. Yeah. But it's something at least. It's something off of Death, of course, but
I mean, it's good that these things rotate because, like I said, God, I hate playing regular UFS now. It's just it feels so bad. Like, oh, wait, you can do things on my turn. You can't do things on my turn. You can interact with my attacks. No.
Yeah, no. It probably definitely feels really weird having someone interact with your attacks on your turn.
Oh yeah,
I can see that.
In a big way.
Yeah. I'm still holding out hope for a flash reverse, so you can play it. So Raptor can have a flash reverse. So I think a flash reverse. I think there was one. Lily had one. It was Bullet Barrage, right?
Bullet Barrage.
Bullet Barrage.
I was like at one point that was supposed to be reprinted. In Blood Omen.
Yeah.
And I was really excited because I guess that didn't come out before. Who was it for? I don't remember, but it would be really nice right now for Shadow Man.
Oh yeah. It was like a 4/4.
Yep.
That just had
and
flash.
It had something if it wasn't blocked.
If it wasn't blocked, I think your opponent had
to like add a card to their card
pool, like a foundation or a card from their discard pile. It didn't have a block either, but it was neat. It was a neat card, and that was one I wanted reprinted.
That would pair nicely with the one missed card that didn't make it in my deck. The one that is, if you don't block, you have to add a card from your hand to your card pool or discard a card. One of the two.
What is that? That's not Bear Bite.
It's like a 0-4.
It's like I think it's Support Fire.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. Yeah. So let's get into some of your team. Do you have anything? Your team ended up Swiss champion with you, Keenan, and Thomas Gordon. Yeah. It was almost the darkest timeline.
The better thing is that I teamed with T-Board last World, and we still got to top 8 with Joe Horth. So T-Board's just slowly
moving up. Oh man, one of these days. He has cardboard in another game. He doesn't need cardboard in this game yet.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen eventually. Eventually. So you want to talk about some of your team's matches leading up to did you before we get into that, did you change anything from teams to singles, or did you just run the same deck in both events?
Exact same deck.
Okay. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So
exactly.
Basically. All right. Want to talk about some teams?
Do way better in teams than I do in singles historically, because combination of I don't want to let my teammates down, and also I can just cherry pick and avoid my bad matchups. Teams was great. I didn't drop a match all day. I only dropped one game in finals, and I still came back and got it. It was probably really good that teams came before singles, because then I walked into singles like, okay, I know what I'm doing. This deck it's done some work. I think I could go far with it, perhaps, as long as I don't have to play any Goros, I'll be fine. But teams was a blur. The one team's match that I remember really well was definitely one of my top matches of the entire weekend, and it was my match against Chris Bromley and his Guile deck.
Okay.
And it literally was just like our two characters with like giant hammers just smashing each other. Like there was a round where he went all in against me and ended up not a lot of cards in hand, pretty tapped out. So I was like, this is my kill turn. I went all the way in against him, and he lived. And I ended that round with one foundation ready, no cards in hand. And we were well into deadlock at this point. He draws up his 5 cards. Of his 7 cards, he's going to eventually get minimum. And plays 5 attacks. And using Feels Goods and Shamans and Showtimes and Shredders my discard pile, I kept blocking. Went from 17 to 2, but lived. Drew up again, threw like 6 more attacks at him, finally got him. It was insane. It was the best defense I've ever played. No one but Raptor could pull it off.
When you play defense that good, you feel invincible. like you literally like you really feel like no one can beat you. It's I know what you're talking about, because I've had some games here locally where it's just like I have 2 cards in hand, my opponent, and then like 2 foundations, and I have to block everything or I die. And when you block everything, it's just like you feel super strong, you know? It's like you flex. It's like, yeah.
The part of this was that, like, when I ended that turn, I looked down at my empty hand and my 1 foundation. Keenan was sitting next to me because Tigor had lost and he had won, so it was all on me. I just turned to him and went, I'm so sorry. And he had the most morose look on his face. And after I won, he came over and was like, wait, was that game 2 or 3? I said 2. And he was like, why were you so upset?
Because you always want to 2-0 everyone. That's the goal. You always want to 2-0 people. Well, you never want to leave it to chance.
But yeah, aside from that, the only game I even remember anything of is that in our finals, we sat down against 3 characters. I don't remember what 2 of them even were, but I looked down and went, well, those are all real bad for me. We went off and we did a little huddle, and one of the characters down was Jetta, which, as we all know now, is a really great matchup for Raptor. But one of our locals players, Tommy Bagwell, had built a Jetta deck that, for whatever reason, when we first started playing this set, I couldn't break through. He would just, like, stomp on me all the time. So I walked into the weekend, like, with a mindset that Jetta is really bad, and I should avoid all the Jettas. So Keenan managed to talk me into that being our pairing. I won the die roll, immediately lost game 1, and went, well, I guess I'm done. Came back and won, and then Keenan and Tigor were able to get it.
Tigor not pulling his weight in tops. Come on, Tigor. Next year. There's always next year.
No shade on either of them. They played really, really well all day. Keenan also did not drop a single match until that exact moment.
I know that your guys' team alignment was kind of a funky one. You were Faye, Shinnok, and you were Raptor. So it was kind of like the Faye was kind of they haven't posted deck lists for teams, I think, but
I don't think so. I haven't seen them.
What was his deck? Because I have no idea why Faye. Do you know why you guys chose those
Keenan
people?
Built Faye, Shinnok, and Jackie Briggs in like the week leading up to Worlds, and all 3 of them were kind of just based on, I'm not going to let my opponent do something. Like Shinnok says, you can't draw cards, you can't cancel what I do. Jackie just punches you in the face. And then Faye, he had a lot of fun things, and I haven't looked at the deck very closely, where you just get a crap ton of momentum all the time and then use it for a bunch of different cards. So you're going to do that? No. You're going to do that? No, absolutely not. Now here's a missile launcher for 10,000 damage. Have you died?
Sounds like a Tigor deck. Definitely does.
Yes. He didn't get any of the decks until 9 p.m. the night before teams, where we sat down with like, here's your choices. Let's do some games. What do you like? Faye? Cool. Play Faye.
Nice. That's awesome. So,
but a lot of what we were going for is when you sit down against Faye and Shinnok, you don't necessarily know what they're going to do to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then not a lot of people, it seems like, had expected there to be a lot of Raptors. So we were just trying to throw our opponents off.
Yeah. No, I find that to be a pretty good team strategy where you're playing open-ended characters to where it's just like, well, I have no idea what they're doing. You know, like if you see a Jackie or if you see like a Jeddah or a Reptile or whatever, you know what their game plan normally is. But like when you see like a Shinnok, it's like, is it all? Is it evil? Well, most likely it's going to be evil because evil's like one of the best symbols in the game. But it's just like I don't want to face him because I can't do anything. Like I don't get to do anything. You know,
I can't cancel anything that you just did.
Yeah, and if I draw stuff, my character's either committed or I lose stuff. And it's like that's no fun. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So after you guys got top 4 or top 8? You guys got top 4, finished top 8.
No, we got the top 8, then we were first seed, and then 8th seed immediately whipped our butts, and we were done.
Swiss champ curse.
Swiss champ curse.
Yeah, someone's got to break that sometime. This is, one day. But so moving into singles, you are, I assume, riding pretty high because you pretty much went undefeated all day in teams. So that's got to fill the sails a bit full of wind. And you want to talk about some of your singles matches? I know previously we had talked. You had a couple ones that stood out in your mind.
So I won round 1 against a Yoshi. I don't remember who was playing it. Round 2, I went in against Mark Wazowski, who I always seem to play at events. And we've had a good back and forth of who has won and who has lost. And he booped me and is the only person all weekend that managed to get an actual match off me. So go Wazowski. So then, you lose in round 2 and you're like, well, I could win out, but when does that ever actually happen? So I just went into it like, okay, my goal is to go 5-1-1, start getting drunk. Let's just try for it. And I just kept winning games after that.
It's truly the Atlanta mindset.
Yes, it is.
It worked. At that first Nats where I went 3-3-1, after I got that one fake win, I just started drinking, and I only won games after that.
Hey, there you go.
But the first one that sticks out in my mind is I sat down against Tim Keefe and his Lilith deck round 5, which was awful because I'd already seen him play that deck at the Atlanta PTC and beat up basically my exact deck, which was, and then, he's got the 2 belts.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you had them with him?
Yes, he did. He wore them during singles. It was very intimidating. Yes, it was. Yeah.
It must have weighed him down. No wonder.
That's probably what happened. But my wins against him were probably the cheekiest wins I got all weekend. First we sat down and his opening statement to me after "Hi, how you doing?" was, "Oh, you played me in round 5 of Nationals. You were playing Liu Kang and you beat me. Please don't beat me again." I was like, Jesus, dude, how do you remember that? Your memory is impeccable. But I'm gonna try to beat you again. I'm sorry. So game 1, we got down to what I thought was my kill turn. I threw down a Hurricane of Death. He was at 10. And he sealed it with Lilith. We did some back and forth with, I pumped the damage, I pumped the speed, he did some things, and then his last thing he did was use, I think it was Reclaiming What's Ours to put it back down to 4 damage. So he took 4, went to 6, bang, bang. And no one likes to lose to double bang, so I just saw on his face, he was like, good game.
That happened a lot. That happened a lot that weekend. People just eating bangs to the face. Yes.
I talked to someone in top 8, I can't remember who lost to triple bang. Which
that's even worse.
Mad.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's no. You can't see that 9 damage coming from that. Nope.
No.
You're like, I'll just block this and I'll just take this and block the next one, right? No, you won't.
Yeah. Nope, not anymore.
No.
And you know that if you get banged 3 times, they probably drew one of those off of the other bangs.
Probably. Let's just see what happened. Oh, great. And then game 2, he reversaled me during what I thought could be my kill turn. And so obviously enhances are open. And the first thing I did was bang the one venomous he had down, and he kind of looked down at my shaman that I had up and was like, oh, no, I don't care for that at all. And to his credit, he was smart. He did some things, can't remember what they were, that basically tapped both of us out. So I wasn't going to be able to use the shaman.
Mm-hmm.
I could maybe feasibly pass one more attack. So I threw down a leg shredder. He was at 9, and I committed his last card, pumped some damage or some speed with Raptor. He took 6, went to 3, and just looked at me in the face and said, "Do you have another bang in your hand?" I said, "Yes, I do."
Oh, I gotta let him. I gotta be like, Timmy. Boom.
He played really, really, really well.
She got the spirit of the finger guns from Keenan.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I wish I could say that I was hand sculpting and like being smart about it, but I was not. I just kept like double bang. Oh, another double bang.
Yeah, it happens. It definitely happens. So I also to kind of curtail off of that. I want to say Bang might have been the most influential card. One of the most influential cards on the weekend, because that thing was everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, every game I lost that weekend was because I got banged on the defense and I couldn't do anything. So it's just like sweet.
Like part of the reason that I was able to take down Cassie is because I forget if it was game 1 or game 3. I had a bang in my hand 3 turns in a row in the beginning of the game when she's trying to build.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's reason there's 3 in main and then an additional 1 inside just in case.
Mm-hmm. I now have started just to pack 4 of them in any deck that can play it. I just play 4 main now and just like just throw them in.
It's so versatile. There's no reason not to have it.
Yeah, I did a UFS minute. It's the new segment UFS minute where I do like little minute segments on cards, and Bang was the first one that I did, and there's just a myriad of reasons why you should be playing it and why it should be in every deck if you can play it. Even if you can off-symbol it, you should play it anyways because no one will see it coming. Yeah, it removes itself. So, it's worth it. So, any other matches that stick out during Swiss rounds before we move into tops?
Yes, another big one. My final Swiss round match against Clinton Thomas, who was the other Raptor, who I just met for the first time at Worlds, and who was an absolute bamf. So he was the top seed Raptor all day. He didn't lose a game until his 6th round when he finally went 5-1. I lost second and then had to climb my way back up. So we sat down against each other. They had just posted strength of schedule, and mine is like 20 below his. It's just hot trash. And his deck was doing a cool cutesy thing that I was fully prepared for, where he used, I think, Repaying a Debt to pitch cards out of his card pool.
Oh, okay, sure.
And he played Shadow Man Attack that gives bonus to your next attack after it's pitched. So he would just, between shredders, keep readying Repaying a Debt so he could keep doing that and then pick it back up with Shaman and then do it again. And you're just sitting there like getting womboed in the face, like, shit, I don't have enough blocks for this. I'm Raptor. I'm supposed to have infinite blocks. I feel bad about myself. So I won the die roll, immediately lost game 1, and was like, well, better Raptor player. But I sided in Spiders and Dragons, which I off-symbol because it matches a lot of my attacks and, again, removes from card pool. And the first time I played it with a Shredder to flip his Repaying a Debt, he was like, what is that? No, wait, what are you doing? And I was like, it chains. He was like, no, I just didn't see that. That's so cheeky. I love it. So that helped me a lot, games 2 and 3. And then the one thing that my deck had that his did not was Izuna Drop. So as long as I can get that out over and over and over, I can pump the damage as much as I want. Raptor doesn't have damage reduction. So since it's a big, hefty throw and we're 7-handers with 19 life, you're eventually, like I said, you're going to be on a timer.
Especially if you're not playing like a prepared to fight. And I'm assuming he was off of air as well.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have like an Omni block that would eat that up.
I mean, a FID doesn't work that well when it's a flash.
Well, no, I understand that. That's why I'm not mentioning that, because the Xeno drops a flash. So the only way you really could stop that is with prepared to fight if you're another Raptor player. So
so that and Ninja Outcast, which you can respond with Ninja Outcast to cancel the force commit on a leg shredder. where we actually had to call a judge over for that one. I had to call a judge over for Ninja Outcast on like abilities on attacks played as blocks, probably 3 or 4 times over the course of the weekend.
Because it says weapon card, correct? It says weapon card, correct? Yeah.
So like Fam would come.
It doesn't matter if it says card or attack. It's
It's just
it's not a played. It's fine. Yes.
And then, or it may have been actually Showtime that I used that on. And it still wasn't a non-keyword ability on an attack card, even though it wasn't being played as an attack. Like again, Fam just like would see my hand and come over and be like, "Yes, it works."
I do want to say Ryan Pham did a fantastic job at judging the event. He did
a fantastic
job. That's for JT, because JT listens to this too and he loves his puns, by the way. So a fantastic job.
Fantastic job.
Oh man. I think I just found the title for the episode, A Phamtastic Weekend.
Yes.
There we go.
But the reason that match sticks out is not just because I had to fight my way up and then battle through the mirror, but because Clinton Thomas is, like I said, absolute badass of a man. After I kicked him out of top 16, he came up to me and was like, "Who's your first match?" And I was like, "Reptile." And someone from like our little group was nearby going, "Oh, that's going to be a bad matchup for you. It's going to be bad." And Clinton came over like, "No, it's not. I've played against Reptiles. You got this in the bag. You don't even have to think." And the next morning, when we were milling around waiting for tops to start, he came over and was like, "So who got to top 8? What matchups are you worried about? What matchups do you think you have?" And I was like, "Well, I'm worried about this one. I don't think I can win this one. This one I'm iffy on." And he was like, "Cool, let's sit down. Let's talk strategy. I've played against some of these decks. Here's how you beat them." And just tried to coach me through, like, "Well, if you beat me, you're going to have to win."
Yeah.
Which was the most, like, sportsmanly thing I've seen maybe in my entire life.
No,
so
that's really cool, though.
Way to be an awesome person.
No, that's awesome. Do you know what play group he's out of? Because I don't think I've ever met him.
I don't. Let me see.
The name sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. But while you're looking that up, but it's really cool because that doesn't happen a lot in card games, where if you beat your direct like mirror opponent, and you actually are the reason why they're not in tops. Some people just won't even talk to you for weeks, and it happens.
Which I wouldn't blame him, because he was the better Raptor all day.
Oh, yeah,
that's
for sure.
just gravity. Creeping on Facebook, Texas.
Oh, okay. So he's from he's in the Texas area. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Facebook creeping. Yes, that's the way to do it. Okay, so if you want to finish, so you're announced. You're in tops. You're in top 16. Let's talk about tops. So you want to talk about top 16, 8 and up, or you just want to bounce around a bit before we get to finals?
We can go top 16 and up. Top 16 was Reptile, and I have a deck with 7+0 mid blocks with Breaker 2 that I can pick up whenever I want. And he can't use any of his defensive enhancements on my turn.
Oh, yes.
So that was over fast.
Yeah. I can imagine that was probably a Swift 2-0, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
Yeah.
It also helped that all the way up until top 2, because I was 3rd seed in Swift.
Oh, you also got to go first.
I did. I also got to go first a lot that day. But yeah, that was over fast. Moving right along to top 8. So top 8, I was playing against Phil Birch, who was playing Jetta, and I was still in that, like, no, Jetta's a bad matchup for me mindset. And over the course of the weekend, probably a good dozen people came up to me and were like, "No, it's a really good matchup. What are you doing? You're being stupid." So after that, I was like, well, maybe I could do it, but it's also Phil Birch, and he's on a bunch of cardboard, so intimidating. Our matchup was also over real fast. It was really fun. It spawned what I am considering using for my flavor text on my character card, which was always attack. Because our game 2, we ended turn 3. I think both of us had 1 or 2 foundations up, and then both of us were at like 4. Like, we just, again, hit each other with hammers, see what happens.
I also think that he would actually couldn't wait for you. Like Jetta kind of, I know his version of Jetta is a little bit of a faster Jetta. It's not more of like it's more of like a early game Jetta, to where he wants to be able to swing and knock you down, and keep your foundations at a minimum.
Yeah.
But also, your plan is to commit him out with leg shredders, so he needs his foundations and stuff and his enhances, so it takes away from his game plan for defending. So his best defense was his offense. So,
Yeah.
and actually, that kind of plays into your strategy a bit because your attacks are inherently better because he can't defend on your attacks very well.
Right.
So.
The other nice thing is that my deck, especially for that matchup, but really all weekend, every time all weekend, I looked at the board state and went, man, it'd be nice to get a Hurricane of Death right now. There was immediately one in my hand.
You ask and you shall receive, I guess. The UFS gods ordained it.
It was only a 3-up. It was a little like, oh, this shouldn't be happening. But yeah, our game 2, going turn 2, going second, he had 3 foundations up and 2 of them were tapped, and I had a Hurricane of Death in my hand. I looked down at my 3 foundations and was like, sure, let's see what happens. Check to 3, commit it out. Okay, blow up 2 of your things. Are you going to block this? No, you're not. Let's throw out another thing. Oh, you blocked that one. Take away one of my 3 foundations. Cool. We just played on no gas. It was fun.
Those games are usually pretty fun. The ones that you're just swinging left and right. Who needs foundations,
But Ninja Outcast versus Jetta is the actual MVP. Oh, sure, give me momentum. Screw your moon, whatever the card that is.
Oh yeah, it stops Moonset. It stops Sangwei. Yeah, it's a beating if you have. And he wants to give you momentum, so it works right into your defense, which is great.
Yeah. Top 4 was against Mark playing Shinnok, and that's probably my top 16 match that I remember the least, just because I was looking at Shane and Richard playing.
Yeah.
I don't want to play against either of those guys, but if I have to, I know which one I want to.
Didn't your match finish before the other one even started?
Yes, we went real fast. So by the time they got the stream set up and got everyone set up, we were done. But being that Shinnok likes to put himself in desperation, so he'll take a lot of my front-loaded damage and give me momentum to work with for Ninja Outcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can't do
that Ninja Outcast doesn't matter, right? Because you can't really cancel any of his stuff.
Well, if he tries to Princess Parrier, couldn't she just add it back to?
I can.
You can add it back to his hand, right?
Yeah, you can do that. Right.
But it's have the momentum sitting there just in case he forgets, which he's not going to because he got the top 4 with Shinnok. But I've played against Shinnok players that will look down at Ninja Outcast and my momentum and be like, oh, I gotta play around that. No, you don't do that. Just swing in. But yeah, it lets me put it back in his hand, which is not always the best because he'll just do it again.
Yeah.
But it lets me put it back in his hand if he is foolish enough to Princess Parry, race against time, coffee Sama. Cool, put that Sama back in your hand. What are you going to do with that?
Yep.
And really all I remember of our match is that game 2, he got me in about 3 minutes, and he absolutely deserved to because I made in a 2-round match probably 12 play mistakes. Just condensed them all really far in. He played a bunch of attacks. He started off by using the Mortal Kombat card that's lose 1 your opponent's next check to play an attack. It's -1 an attack card, and then did that twice. So I was looking at my handful of attack cards and break blocks, oh, I can't pass any of these. And rather than just burning one to get rid of that difficulty, I just kept going, I'm going to wait until I can block. Go up. Yeah. And then my match against Richard was insane.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't able to watch it on the stream because I had an early flight, so I was an old man and in bed by 10 o'clock at night. Vegas time.
Reasonable, because there was no reason that we should have been playing at 10 o'clock at night.
There we go. We'll save the props and slops to the end. But yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. But I know Rob caught some of that, right, Rob? You caught some of the finals, correct?
I caught all the finals.
Okay.
I was up till 3-ish a.m. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Because Cassie lost, so it was good. Because if Cassie didn't lose, he probably still wouldn't be sleeping. He would just be a wreck of himself. So, yeah.
You're welcome.
But yeah, you want to talk about that? Talk about your finals match against Richard a bit?
Yeah, so I had never played against a Cassie Cage before, but I had the benefit of, while I was milling around trying to de-tilt myself, which we'll get to later, before top 8 started, I was like watching the top 2 teams matches to kind of like tool myself back into the UFS brain. So I saw his deck when he was playing against Miles's Ken deck. And mostly what I saw was not his offense, but just like the incredible amount of defense that he has, which is ridiculous. And so I also had the benefit of, I finished my top 4 match really, really early. So I was able to watch Richard's match against Shane. And that was definitely a Richard on the offensive match. Sure. So I kind of saw the cards he had there. I'm not sure if he had played against a lot of Raptors. Because he definitely read a lot of my Raptor support cards, but it's also top 2, so you just don't want to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so when I went to work after I took home the belt, I was trying to explain to my coworkers who are doctors what the hell this game is and why like this was fun and what they asked. And so I explained it as, so my character says, I'm going to take away your resources and make your resources less valuable, and then also play impeccable defense. And my opponent's character says, I get 1,000,000 resources forever, and I'm going to make your defense worse. And so one of them looked at me and went, well, what happened? And I said, we stared at each other for an hour and waited for one of us to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened. There was a point where I had a hand, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to kill him, and I don't want to lead into a reversal, but he had a deck of like 5 cards. So I was like, let me see your discard. Looked through everything. There's no deadlock. Looked through all of his cards that were down. There's no deadlock. And just went, cool, here's 4 more foundations. And that's what we did the rest of the night. Is deadlock is just free.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not running deadlock effects, it doesn't exist.
Well, so. Like Showtime is your main deadlock effect, right? For the most part?
My only deadlock effect.
It's your only deadlock effect, okay.
So between both of our decks, the only deadlock that existed was my 2 copies of Showtime, only one of which could be out.
Sure. Yeah, that's why I would say that's one of the Cassie Cage's biggest faults, is that she wants to go to deadlock, but she has no way to fight. She has no way to help her deal. She attack her opponent while they're in deadlock, I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have like a foam or or anything like outrageously awesome like that.
I mean, if you're on all, no, like there's not much.
Oh yeah, but good
there's plenty of stuff on the other side.
I'm saying Richard's deck per se, the all version, the all variant, the more popular variant of Cassie Cage. So I should say so.
I wouldn't know.
Well, you hate her, and I know this. So yeah.
But yeah, his deck was awesome. He had a lot of cards that did a lot of important things. Shadow Inheritance is terrifying. It's so bad. If I was not playing a character whose entire ability is my blocks are easy to pass and I can give -1,000,000 speed to everything, I don't know how you win. You gotta kill her fast.
You do, or you just bang them or destroy them somehow, or flip them. I have no idea. It's all easier said than done, of course. So yes.
After game 1, I looked at my Spiders and Dragons in my sideboard and was like, well, the problem with this is that the only card I have in my deck that didn't pull 100% of its weight was Ageless and Wise, which is a spam. So I can't take that out for a 3 diff.
Yeah.
Like, elected not to put them in, got Shadow Inheritance to death immediately game 2, and it finally was like, I guess we'll take out 2 Ophids for 2 Spiders. This is the worst decision I've ever made in my life. 2 Spiders isn't going to do anything, but here we go. Never saw.
Yeah, that's one thing that kind of happens. Like, you're like, man, I'm going to side these cards in for this matchup, and it's like, well, I never saw them. And it makes you kind of feel bad about it, but hey, you won anyways in spite of that.
Sometimes you side in that hot 4 check, and then you check it when you need a 5, and it's great.
Rob does that all the time. He loves doing that. It's his favorite. So you end up beating Richard, and it's like super late, right? What time did the match get over?
I think 11:30 at night.
Okay, and there was something that you and Keenan had planned something, and you want to talk about why you were kind of tilted beforehand.
I do very badly. So anyone that got to Tops who was at the Joliseum knows exactly what I'm going to say, so sorry for repeating myself. But when you go to Vegas to play in Worlds, you're mostly going to be playing cards. So before we left, Keenan and I sat down and we were like, okay, what's one Vegas thing we want to do while we're there that won't be cards related, because we really only have time for one. And I've never been to Cirque du Soleil. He has been a lot. So he was like, let's go see a Cirque show. So we bought some moderately expensive Cirque du Soleil tickets for 7 p.m. on Sunday. And I was like, well, it's on Sunday. Shouldn't we worry about matches going long? And he was like, no, I've been playing this game for 13 years and finals has never gone past 4 p.m. So Saturday, they announced that at 2 o'clock the next day, limos will be picking us up, which was really rad, by the way. Not complaining about that part. I want to talk about that later. To take us to the Joliseum for the finals of teams to start at 2 p.m. So at 2 p.m., we roll into the limos. We get there at like 2:45. And then we don't start the finals for teams until nearly 4. Because they're having trouble setting up the stream. And I'm sitting there like looking at my watch like, cool. So we have 3 hours to finish the finals in teams and top 8 and top 4 and top 2, depending on how I do. And they're all in time matches. This can only go well. And I legitimately, during tops for teams, was outside of the Joliseum on the phone with Keenan being like, you know what? I'm just going to scoop. If they want integrity results, okay, how about this? First girl that ever got to top 8, I'm just going to scoop to my opponent because they couldn't time well. And he's on the other end like, no, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please go back in and play the game. Please. And I was like, no, because what will happen is we'll sell the tickets and then I'll lose. And then we'll have wasted this money. We're never going to make it back. And we won't see Cirque du Soleil. And I'm just going to be mad forever. Like actively crying on the street. So he was like, just go in, just go back in, just watch some games, you'll be okay. I went back in, like, angry, cross-armed, like, okay, what are these top 4 teams doing? Oh, that's a deck I don't want to play against. Screw that. Let me go see what Mark's doing. I don't want to play against that either. I'm just going to lose. So he called me after I talked to Phil, and I was like, hey, Phil, do you just want to go ahead and play now? Because if you just beat me, then I don't have to worry about it. And if I beat you, then I guess I have to cross that bridge. And that was over in 5 minutes. So I called Keenan back, let him know, and he was like, okay, cool. Give me a second. 10 minutes later, I sold the tickets. You have to play. Also, sold the tickets to Clinton Thomas. So yet another shout out. He and his girlfriend saw Cirque. Apparently it was great. Thanks for being part of the reason I was not on mad tilt all night.
Good man. What a good man.
The man, the myth, the legend.
There you go.
I'm going to be very unprofessional like in my top.
Oh, you're all right.
Yes, that was in the background of Tops.
I have never, just a side note, I've been to Vegas a few times. We were gonna go see a Cirque show, never got around to it. So it had nothing to do with Worlds, we had other things we had to do, so.
I hear it's amazing.
I saw like this Batman live thing that was basically like Batman Cirque du Soleil. It was kind of cool. It was neat. They had like gymnastics and swinging around, and Bruce Wayne's parents died, but like there's symbolism. Oh no, it was Dick Grayson's parents died on the trapezes, and they had them tied to ribbons, and they like fell down on ribbons. It was kind of neat. It was cool. Yeah, it was really cool. And they had like a Batmobile come out, but like people pushed it out because they were all dressed like fire, so it was moving fast. Yeah. Hey man, it was free tickets from work. I'm not gonna complain. So.
That sounds amazing. I would actually pay good money to see that.
Yeah, it's Batman. It's live. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's not Disney on Ice, okay, Rob? Calm down, okay? Rob has his disapproving head shake look going on. He's just, whatever.
My tastes are such that, like, I only like things that are, like, absolute top quality or the most garish trash you've ever seen.
Okay.
And nothing in between.
Alrighty. Okay.
So,
yeah.
That sounds great.
It's probably closest to garish trash than it is top quality.
Yeah.
But it's still worth seeing just because of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
So, in conclusion, once those tickets got sold, it was either take it all the way home or hate myself forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, had to do it.
And you did. So, congratulations. That's
first
female singles cardboard winner ever, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You cannot be nutcrackered. Well, the +4 damage, of course. But
yes.
That's the important enhance.
Yeah, we talked about that in the Joliseum afterward, that I am the first champ card ever going to not be nutcrackable, and I did it by beating Cassie Cage with a male character.
Yeah.
So just all of the irony at once.
Yeah, it was definitely like the universe aligning itself. And it's like, all right, Rob, we got you. And it's like, bam, and then you beat Cassie. We got you, Rob. The universe did you a solid, buddy.
Sure
I don't realize until Worlds why both Nutcrackers have Breaker 2 on them. So I burst out laughing in the middle of a match, like for no reason, like a crazy person.
You know what? I just never realized that until now too. That's hilarious. That's
right.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then Cassie Cage is my main in MK11, and when she has a crushing blow where it's like extra damage, and she does it on a man, and she does her Nutcracker 3 times. You actually see the testicles pop. It's like, yeah. She's pretty cool in that game. She's awesome. But anywho, so let's get props and slops. So I can actually interact in this part because I also was there. I didn't do as well,
I
but
interact this part and I wasn't there.
Well, you could do the slops part because I know. Let's start with the slops. Let's end with the props because I like ending with positivity. So, Robert, let's get your biggest slop.
I mean, I would just say like I'm sure you guys had it too. Like the amount of time it took. And the coverage, like not having a live stream at all for Swiss rounds is like pretty bad. I mean, at
to
this
interject
point,
right there, I brought my streaming equipment with, and I was like, if you guys have the Wi-Fi, I will set up a stream.
I understand that. Like, I understand it's a convention, so Wi-Fi is top. I get that, but it's still just sort of like the thing to me is coverage of like Worlds is basically like a marketing expense.
Mm-hmm.
For the people who aren't there, like this is sort of your marquee event of the year, and so like you want people to be able to like watch it on Twitch. You want people to see your Facebook page or like Twitter. I don't know what social media they do. Their social media game is not the best, but like stuff like this, like you want like pictures, you want coverage, like you want like even if you could do like player interviews, like any of this stuff that just sort of enhances the experience, like. Have like people who aren't there like can sort of like get some info on it, but also sort of be like, oh wow, like this sounds really cool. I should go next year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of one of those things where, it's marketing. I mean, it
was bad,
like hype.
Yeah,
and
it was just bad.
Like teams was like pretty long, and I think we at least got like standings. But even then, like I don't think we ever knew like who was on what team. So like there were teams that were like posted, but like unless you like asked someone who was there, like you didn't even know like who was on what team.
Yep.
And then for singles, we did not get like a standing update after the 4th round. So for the last like 3 rounds of Swiss, like like people who weren't there or weren't talking to people who were there had like no idea who was doing well, like no idea what characters were doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Just bad. And and then like everything sort of like ending like after like or basically at or like after midnight like West Coast time. Anyone who's sort of like in the Central Time Zone or East Coast Time Zone or whatever, like
especially on a Sunday of all things too, and that's the worst part because people have to work on Mondays, who don't have to travel back out.
The final between Corey and Garrett, back in, what was that, like 2016? Like, that was super late, too. I mean, I think I was up until, like, 3 or 4, like,
that ended, like, at 10 o'clock at night, and we all had flights at, like, 4 and 5 in the morning the next day. Yeah, it was rough.
But, yeah, it's just, I mean, I think for 7 rounds in lunch for Swiss, like, it took, like, over 11 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you're losing like a half an hour or more between every single round, and like that's just bad.
There was a monumental amount of draws this year for some random reason. Yeah, I don't. Go ahead, Ashley.
No, so I was playing a fast deck, and I have no health. And
did she freeze? No. No.
Maybe her computer died.
Their computer died.
Finish. We turn and then. No. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back. Okay. Woo. We were afraid we lost you there. We thought your computer died. So
No, it froze a little bit, but it's done that like periodically throughout the episode. So I was like, oh, I'll just keep talking. So I play a fast deck and I have no life, and I still went like I played within 10, 15 minutes of time every single round of singles, with I think one exception.
Okay.
Against a spike too. So like it's two fast decks just smashing into each other.
Yeah.
And every time I'd finish, I'd look around the room, and probably a fourth of the room was still playing. There was so much to time. There were so many draws. I've never seen anything like that happen before. Relatively new.
I don't remember it being that bad. With the Bebop Worlds wasn't that bad, obviously.
Yeah, that was never gonna happen.
That was never gonna happen with that. But even like the Nats this past year was pretty okay with not a lot of draws and time. Nats wasn't a time sink like Worlds was for some reason. Maybe because people were, to coin a phrase Rob uses, analysis paralysis, because they're overanalyzing every move. It's like if you have someone looking at their cards 7 times, it's like their cards aren't going to change. So it's just like, just play your cards you're dealt. It shouldn't take you that long to figure out your lines of play, because you've probably been playing the deck for over 2 or 3 months if you're bringing it to Worlds, so you know pretty much every line of play you can do.
Or, the night before.
Or the night before, or the morning of, like I did. So, the morning of, like I did. But it's just kind of weird how, my team had 4 draws on its own, which is really unheard of for teams in a way. And then I had a couple draws in singles. So, but that's just kind of odd, because I think there was at least 1 or 2 matches going post time, like past time, every round, and it was kind of bad.
1 or 2 is a really conservative estimate.
Okay, sure. I think I heard someone yell just scoop at one point to some people who were just playing because they were taking too long.
Yeah.
But
like at some point, Jasco, there's very little they can do with the current rules. They can't walk over and be like, okay, guys, it's been 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, how did you stretch 1 turn into 10 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. It's just, And I think a lot of it has to do with people are just trying to make the perfect play every time they play a card, which is something you should strive for, but you don't need to take 10 minutes to do it, though.
Yeah.
So, but I know that my personal slop was our lunch was way too early. It was at their second round both days, and
why?
Yeah, but wasn't it like second round? It was like 2 or 3 p.m. So
yeah, but then for singles we still had like 5 more rounds. It was nuts, and it's just I don't know. I'm an old man. I'm set to certain schedules. I got to eat at certain times, and I get cranky, and no one wants to hear about that. So
didn't you take Kevin's advice and pack a snack?
Yeah, I did, of course. Always
okay, well then what are you worried about?
Not enough, man. I need a full meal.
I would rather play 3 rounds, have a break, and then play 4 more rounds, and know in my heart that I need to eat breakfast before I show up, than eat breakfast, then immediately lunch, and now, if you top, this is, 9 more hours of cards you're going to play without a break?
Yeah. It was pretty rough.
I
honestly, our start times were registration was at 9. We started at 10 o'clock. But that shouldn't mean, I know they had a player meeting before singles and teams, so you're looking at 10:30. Honestly, we should have been, done with singles by 5 or 6 easily. And not take until 9 o'clock at night.
I mean, if you're playing, you're not going to play 7 rounds in 7 hours.
Okay, whatever, 8 hours. You can whatever. Still, you should 8 to 9 hours should be a reasonable time to get it done with. So.
I think when I played top 16 against my opponent who's playing Reptile, he sat down and said very quickly, "I'm so tired, I just don't care anymore."
Yeah. I can't remember who. I was talking to somebody, and they said one of the big reasons that a lot of the UFS tournaments take so long is because nobody drops. And part of that is just because of the way that they a little bit of it is the people that are on the fringe. There's always sort of the hope where it's well, if I make it to top 20, I'm or if I'm 23rd or something, I might still squeak in on diversity or whatever. But the big thing is like, you know, in other games, if someone goes like 0-2 or like 0-3,
They
like
just drop.
they're done. Like they're
Yeah.
done. Like
Yeah.
and then that's another person who's like, you know, that's probably a couple people that like aren't playing. So like the tournament size goes down, the number of matches going on goes down, like the number of people like going to time goes down. Like so all these things. So it's sort of just like, you know, entering results takes less time, like checking all that stuff. And so right, I mean, when you have like 129, 130 something, whatever it was,
Yep.
I mean, it's just like it's a lot to manage. And I mean, part of it is like the way they give out like prize support is like they encourage you to play like for the entire time.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I just think like logistically, like it definitely doesn't help. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know like a lot of people sort of it goes both ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's sort of like if you're 0-3, like you're done.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to top. Like your day's over. But then at that point, it's just like, well, how much money did you spend to get here? Like, you know, do you want to play the rest of those rounds? Like, is there something else you could do? I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, I guess you're at a convention, so you could like go to the convention. But right, like, you know, at PTCs and stuff, it's just like this is what I came to do. So like, I guess I'm just gonna like suffer through it.
Yep.
But yeah,
let's get some positivity, power positivity.
I'm out on this.
What, Ashley?
Actually, can I do one more slop?
Oh, go ahead. You're fine. Yeah, there's always room for more slop on the Guile Treatment.
Yeah, I think you may have said this one on the last Mythical podcast.
Yeah.
The convention center had a policy where if you leave, you have to get rebag checked before you. And they'll tell you that as you leave, and you're like, yeah, that's fine, I have a bag. And then you turn and look, and there's like a 2-hour line of people in cosplay just waiting to be bag checked. And you look back at the door that's just closed behind you, like, oh no.
Yeah.
So you step outside for your like 1 hour lunch to get something from a food truck, and we called Jason and we're like, we're not gonna make it back in time. He was like, I'll see what I can do. We hung out there like just kind of, you know, complaining at each other for maybe 10 more minutes before someone was like, well, why don't we just try walking around the building to the other entrance, which worked, which was great, but also what is your security doing?
That's completely unguarded.
Line, because you need to be so secure, but if you walk 5 minutes this way, you can carry in whatever you want.
I remember we were all standing out there, and the Tylers and a couple of the Omaha players were walking out. We all pushed them back into the convention center. Like, we're like, get back in there. And we pushed them all. Like, we physically just pushed them back into the place.
They looked so alarmed.
They did, yes. But they were... they came up to me and were like, we thank you. So, yeah, because that was brutal.
Don't make mistakes.
Yeah, don't make that mistake. But, so, moving on to some props. I want to say they finally had... One prop is, during their player meeting, they introduced their organized play supervisors that are going to be dealing with the local tournaments, getting out prize support, setting up events. I don't remember the two gentlemen's names because I was half paying attention because I usually don't pay attention during player meetings. It doesn't matter half the time. So maybe I should, and maybe I'll do better. But
sometimes the rules change from what they were.
Yeah, like sometimes. None of that. But they gave out some scout support. Like, we got some promos from some of the PTCs that were happening prior, which is kind of cool. And the price support was pretty good. I liked the stolen swords; they were pretty sweet. And we also got some neat 7 cross uncommons and some packs and a lot of cool promos for the last round, if I remember correctly.
That was rad because Keenan is our scout for Atlanta. And by the way, legit props to him. He does everything. He sets up every event. He coordinates with the shop that we have. He talks to all of the players. The fact that there's still a group running in Atlanta, a lot of it goes to him. But he came over after they'd gotten the scout prize support and said, how many high seas do you have in your deck? And I was like, 3, and he threw down 3 shiny ones like, here you go.
Nice. Yeah. I walked up to Tim and Slam, and I'm like, you guys got any of these? And Tim's like, I haven't gotten those. I'm like, here you go. And I just gave them to Tim because I'd gotten them at the Chicago PTC. So that was really neat because they didn't have to do that. And they had been talking about scout support for so long, and now they finally have it implemented. So hooray. Yes, we're getting something back for our time we're putting in other than just playing UFS. So that's plus. So. Ashley, any props?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the limo ride for top 8 and top 2 teams was actually amazing. We ended up splitting 6 and 6 because 2 of the top 8s were also in top 2 teams.
Okay.
So on the way, they also had a bottle of champagne and glasses for us. So given that the singles car had like an hour to kill before we actually had to play, we were like, yeah, just down the champagne.
Yeah, there you go.
Me and Dave Wagner and Phil Burke, choose an honorary Lantern, were in there like, you gotta lubricate. It makes you play better. Because that's the Atlanta slogan.
Yeah, that's definitely the Atlanta slogan. That's for sure.
Chris Brownlee figured out how to make the light show go off on the limo.
Cool.
So it was legit. It was so much fun.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It definitely made you go, oh yeah, this is top 8.
This is cool. It made you feel special, and even more though than being into just tops. What did you think of the Joliseum? I know that's like a new arena area for them to start streaming and doing a bunch of other things.
So I liked it a lot. They had some legit setups, and they had a little bit of trouble getting it started that day, which, first time they're using it, it's going to happen. But I think the more that it gets used, the better it's going to be. It was just nice. It was nice to be kind of separated from everyone, so you don't have a cluster of 50 people standing around you while you're playing a game. Just, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But that everyone can still see it on stream. No complaints about the Joliseum.
Cool. Yeah, I stopped over there to visit Ryan Pham because he had to do work there, and I saw it. It's a real nice place. They have a bunch of banners. A huge wall of banners, and then Jason said the one of the walls is going to be dedicated to every champ that's ever been in UFS.
What?
So they're going to have plaques, a picture of you, a picture of your character that you won with, and maybe your champ card, and it's going to be on a plaque on the wall, and it's going to be basically the UFS Hall of Fame for the most part.
Is that just going to be like Jasco era, or are they going to like reach back to
he wasn't very
like the
specific.
Bittners and John Herr.
I'm going to assume it may be Jasco era, but I don't see why he wouldn't, because Jason played with all those guys back in the day, so I
gotcha.
I don't think it'd be a very hard. So
got like the Garrett Brett corner.
Yeah, he has his own shelf, it has like it's like a coat of arms or something like that, So, okay, so we're gonna wrap up the worlds portion.
I think if I remember, you had one particular one about like sleeves and playmat.
What?
Hmm?
Who?
Ashley.
Oh, Ashley.
Right?
Oh yeah, the sleeves and playmat. Oh yeah, that. Yay.
Last time you'd asked for shout outs, and shout out to Clinton again because he's rad. Shout out to Keenan because he is my primary playtest partner, and also is the reason Ninja Outcast is in my deck. Like, he's helped me tool my deck for months, but right before Worlds, he sat down and was like, "You need to put this in your deck," and I was like, "No." It's exactly how I want it. Nothing can change. He would not back down until I was like, fine, we'll take out one of the Thrilled to Eat shoes that I have 3 of. We'll take out one of the Iron Wills and we'll put in 2, and I'll put the other 2 in sideboard, and that saved my saved my ass a million times over the course of the weekend. So shout outs to him. But my last shout out was to my friend Chris Skarziga. I shouted out to him on stream as well. He lent me his Easter Dragon Shield sleeves for good luck, and also lent me his very rainbow decorated deck box for good luck.
Yep.
I didn't play with them in teams, and then didn't go all the way, but I did play with them in singles, and that's the only difference in my deck between the 2 days.
There you
go.
The luck was with
it.
You. Yeah, the Easter sleeves did it.
Yeah. So I've already told him that he's not getting his sleeves back, but this is probably going to be the first time that he hears you're not getting your deck box back either. I'm sorry, man. It's mine.
Aw, poor guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Harsh.
The other thing is that when he lent them to me, it was under the condition, which I agreed to because I never thought I'd be here, that if I won, I would wear bunny ears in my character card. So now I have to figure out what I'm doing with that. I'm probably just going to have a bunny somewhere in the card.
There you go. Yeah, you can have a rabbit. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Close enough.
Yeah. It could be like that. What's the rabbit from Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Because it always attacks. So.
Oh, I love it.
There you go. It always attacks. If that's going to be your flavor text, you can always have it. It's always attacking.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So congrats again on winning. So now we're gonna go over our scoreboard from from Worlds. Only one person got one thing correctly. That was Miles Tyler. Got the attendance at 127. So congrats, Miles. You now have brought up the guests from the bottom of the barrel to right above Rob, who is now alphabetically in last place. So Rob has 5 points. The guests have 5 points. Barrett has 5 points. And yours truly still has 6 for some reason, because I just cleaned up one. I think I cleaned up on one event.
I think all you do is you just like talk to the people going to the event. And you're like, "What's Tim Key plan?" Nice.
Hey man, it's a solid strategy. No one said I couldn't do it. So hey, there were no rules. So unless you want to set the rules now, we can't talk to people. So
just flexing that connection, huh?
I am. I have to, because I have to live vicariously through my friends since I never top or win. So, but yeah. So we had recorded an episode with no sound, which people have probably heard about because I posted about it on Facebook. So we did some picks. So I'm going to review our picks, and if anyone wants to change their pick, I will allow it this one time because I screwed up on the original show. So Ashley went with 25 attendance. This is for Charleston, right? It's in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Ashley went with 25 attendance. Zhonghua or Remelis to win with 1 diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Rob went with 23 attendance. Turn Loose and Akuma Tudot with 3 diversities. I went with 22 attendance. Solenka and Lord Raptor 2 moving over to the death symbol, winning. And 2 diversities. Barrett has yet to make his picks because I've messaged him 3 times about it, and he hasn't. So I'm just gonna start filling in stuff for him. He still has a couple weeks.
What's the numbers you want?
He's definitely picking what, like Caden 3.
Oh yeah, he's definitely picking some weird stuff. Yeah.
Deep
How about Aaron Black?
Aaron Black. I was gonna pick Cherry, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna pick Cherry for him. But yeah, so we will see if I can maintain my lead or if the guests Rob and Barrett meet to tie me. And then we have a real race for, I guess, bragging rights. I don't know. I'll come up with something, a t-shirt or something. So I don't know how I'm going to distribute that to the guests. Maybe it might be the last person to pick, but we'll figure that out. Or maybe it'll just be like a banner or a playmat or something. So I think that's it for the episode, unless we have anything else to talk about.
I think that's it.
Rob, Ashley, okay, cool. Now I have to do the salesman pitch. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all the YouTube things. Visit our Patreon. You can get exclusive content. One of the tiers, you can play me on Skype or on Tabletop Simulator. And if you beat me, I'll send you 3 packs of whatever set you want. That is turbo legal. I'm not going to dig out old packs. So that is just something you guys can do for that. Look out for the new UFS Hot Minutes. They're hot takes. I do little UFS snippets every day from my car with the editing software on my phone, which is somehow working out okay so far. But I'm sure it's just a dumpster fire because it's only a minute and a half. So, but anywho, again, thanks for coming on, Ashley.
Rob, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks as always, Robert, coming on and talking with me. So have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.